Before we dive in, I just want to take 2 seconds to tell you about the Soul Shine Collective. It is my online community over on School, and it is honestly one of my favorite places on the internet. It's where women who are done playing small come together to do real inner work, support each other's dreams, and just be in a space where alignment is the whole vibe. There are 2 tiers, you guessed it, aligned and abundant. And you can find all the details at the link in the show notes. Okay, now let's get into this episode because I am genuinely so excited to share this with you. Can I tell you something that took me way too long to figure out? I used to believe that if I wasn't exhausted, I wasn't working hard enough. Like, tired was the proof that I was serious. Busy was the badge that said I deserved whatever I was going after. And I wore that badge, and I wore it proudly. I was a middle school English teacher for years, and if you know anything about teachers, you know that overwork is basically a part of the job description. It's what you sign up for. You take it home. You think about your students at 11 p.m. You give everything constantly because that's what it means to care. And then I stepped into the spiritual coaching world and I thought, okay, this is different. This is soul work. This is aligned. And then I proceeded to hustle my way through that too. Because nobody told me the truth. The truth is this. The highest frequency move you can make right now might be to stop, to slow down, to rest. Not as a reward for finishing everything on your list. Because that list never ends. Legit, never ends. But as a practice, as a portal, as the very thing that makes everything else possible. This is episode 1 of a brand new series, The Return. And today we are starting exactly where I think every spiritual journey has to start, with permission to come home to yourself. Without the rush, without the hustle, without the need to justify your own pace. Welcome to Aligned and Abundant. Let's go. Hey, beautiful soul. Welcome back to Aligned and Abundant. I'm your host, Christine Marcario. I'm an intuitive teacher, Reiki master teacher, and spiritual life coach, and this podcast is my favorite place to talk about all things soul alignment, manifestation, and creating a life that actually feels like yours. If you are brand new here, hi, I'm so glad you found your way. You can absolutely listen to this episode as a standalone, but I want to let you know that this is the first episode of a 6-part series I'm calling The Return. And the whole premise of this series came from something I've been noticing in the spiritual space, a real, beautiful collective shift that is happening right now in 2020. Women are done. They are done with surface level spirituality. Done with aesthetic rituals that look good on Instagram but don't actually change anything. Done with consuming more and more content and somehow still feeling like they're missing the thing. They're hungry for depth, for something real, for practices that actually land in the body and shift something from the inside out. And the most wild part, the thing women are craving most right now, the thing research is showing, the thing I'm seeing with my clients, the thing I feel in my own body is not more. It's less. It's slower. It's deeper. It's a return to themselves. So that's what this series is. 6 episodes, 6 themes, all circling back to one core truth. You don't need to fix yourself, upgrade yourself, or hustle yourself into your next level. You need to return to yourself And it starts today with the one thing most of us are terrified to do: slowing down. And here's what I want you to know right from the start. This work, this returning, it is so much richer when you don't do it alone. The Soul Shine Collective is my school community, and it is full of women who are on this exact journey with you. If you want a space to process, be seen, and be supported by women who get it, the link is in the show notes. Come check it out. The Abundant tier is where I'd love to have you. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Let's talk about where this obsession with doing more actually comes from, because I don't think it's an accident and I don't think it's a personal failing. I think it's something most of us were taught, directly or indirectly, from a very young age. For so many of us, especially women in our generation, we grew up watching the adults in our lives equate worth with productivity. Rest was something you earned. Busyness was a virtue. And if you slowed down, if you said no, if you just took an afternoon for yourself with nothing to show for it at the end, that came with a side of guilt so heavy you could barely breathe, let alone the side eyes. I want you to think for a second about who taught you this. Maybe it was a parent who never sat still. That's me. Maybe it was a culture that celebrated the grind and called it ambition. Maybe it was a school system that measured your value by your grades and your output and your ability to check all the boxes. Maybe it was all of the above. For me, it was teaching. When I was in the classroom, overwork wasn't just normalized. It was expected. I was told a good teacher makes time. It was also love. You stayed late because you cared. You took work home because you were dedicated. And if you weren't exhausted by Friday, were you even a real teacher? I was in bed by 9 p.m. every Friday night. I was dead tired. And I carried that with me into every version of myself after. Into coaching, into building this podcast, into building a business. The hustle was so deeply woven into my identity that I didn't even know it was there until it was brought to my attention by, you guessed it, ChatGPT. I asked Chat to roast me. It was something that I had seen on social media, and what it pointed out to me was a harsh reality. It said, Christine, you speak of slowness, but you literally go. And honestly, my husband said to me, Christine, you are working more now than you were as a teacher. Now, there is a different side of that coin. The thing is, I'm in a stage of loving what I am doing. So the time just flies by. I don't even realize how much time has passed until I literally look at the clock in disbelief. However, I am beginning to realize that I need to slow down and focus a little bit more. A good friend of mine, Jennifer Liss, asked, what do you want to prioritize? What are the things that you absolutely love? And so I named them. And I decided that I'm going to put some of those other things to the side because I don't need to do everything. So in spirituality, people think that you have to be high vibe, but it was never supposed to mean what a lot of people equate it to be. So there I was, growing and building my business and just doing all the things. And then I got deeper into spirituality and I thought, okay, great. Now I'm going to align my way to success. I'm going to meditate and journal and set my intentions and do all the things with great energy, and it's going to flow and come naturally and come easily. And I kept waiting for the flow and wondering why it felt like I was still swimming upstream. Here's what nobody tells you about high vibration. It is not a state you force. It is not something you manufacture by doing more spiritual things faster. High vibration is not busy vibration. High vibration is not hustle with crystals in your pockets. High vibration is a state of receptivity, of openness, of ease. And you cannot get there when your nervous system is running on fumes, caffeine, and your to-do list is screaming at you louder than your intuition. The research backs this up, by the way. I've been geeking out on this lately. What we're seeing in the spiritual wellness space in 2026 is a massive collective move away from the doing model of spirituality and towards something that honestly makes so much more sense. The body first. The nervous system first. The felt sense of safety and groundedness as the foundation for everything else. You see, you cannot manifest from a dysregulated body. You cannot access your intuition when your cortisol is through the roof. You cannot hear your own inner guidance when every waking hour is scheduled and every quiet moment feels like something you should be filling. Something has to give, and that something might just be the hustle. Okay, so here's where I want to get really practical because I know some of you are already feeling the resistance. You're thinking, Christine, I have a life. I have responsibilities. I have kids and a job and a cat and a dog and a business and a whole list of things that don't slow down just because I want to. I hear you. And I want to be really clear. I am not telling you to quit your job, cancel your commitments, and spend a week in a silent retreat. That would be lovely, but that is not what this is. Slowing down as a spiritual practice is not about doing nothing. It is about doing things differently. It is about the quality of your presence inside the doing, not the quantity of the doing itself. Let me give you 5 specific ways that slowing down shows up in real life. Because I think when we get specific, it stops being this vague, aspirational thing and starts being something you can actually practice today. Shift 1. You stop filling every quiet moment. How many of us reach for our phones the second we have 30 seconds of nothing? We're in line at the grocery store, phone. We're waiting for our coffee, phone. We're in the bathroom, and honestly, same. We have become so deeply uncomfortable with unstructured time that we've trained ourselves to fill every gap, every pause, every potential moment of stillness with noise and distractions. Slowing down starts by reclaiming those gaps. And not all of them, not forever, just some of them. You're in line at the store. What if you just looked around, felt your feet on the ground, let your mind wander? This is not a small thing. This is where the downloads live. This is where your soul gets to whisper something to you. But she cannot compete with a TikTok algorithm. She's just not loud enough. Shift 2. You start resting without justifying it. I want you to notice the next time you rest. Really rest. Like take a nap or sit outside with no agenda. And pay attention to what your brain does. Does it let you? Or does it immediately start cataloging everything you should be doing instead? Does it remind you that you'll be behind? That you haven't earned this? That other people are working right now and here you are? That voice is the wound. That voice is the thing we are here to heal. Rest is not a reward. Rest is a requirement. And for us, for women on a spiritual path, rest is actually one of the most productive things we can do. Because everything shifts in the rest. The ideas come. The clarity comes. The next right step reveals itself. Not because you forced it, but because you finally got quiet enough to hear it. Shift 3. You choose depth over speed. We live in a culture that rewards fast results, fast content, fast growth, and spirituality got infected by this too. We want our healing fast, our manifestation fast, our transformation fast. But real transformation doesn't happen fast. Real transformation happens in the slow, quiet, unglamorous daily practices of choosing yourself again and again and again. One of the biggest trends I'm seeing right now, and honestly one that makes my soul so happy, is women moving away from spiritual content consumption and toward spiritual practice. Less watching, less reading, less scrolling through someone else's awakening. More sitting with their own. More writing in their own journal. More trusting what they actually feel, what someone else says they should feel. That is depth over speed, and it is everything. Shift 4. You pause before reacting. This one is so simple and so powerful. The pause. Just the pause. Before you say yes to something, you pause. Before you send the email, pause. Before you make the decision, you pause. Not because you're indecisive or slow or unsure, but because the pause is where you check in. It's where you ask, does this feel aligned? Is this coming from fear or from love? Is this a yes because I actually want it, or a yes because I'm afraid of what happens if I say no? The pause is a micro practice of slowing down. And it's honestly one of the most spiritually sophisticated things you can do on an ordinary Tuesday. Shift 5, you let your body lead. Okay, this one is a little more woo, and I love it, frankly. We are going to go deep on this in episode 2 of this series. The whole episode is about somatic wisdom and letting your body be your compass. But let me plant the seed right now. Your body knows things your brain hasn't caught up to yet. There is wisdom in your chest, in your gut, in the tightening in your throat or the opening in your heart. Your body has been speaking to you your entire life. Most of us have just been too busy, too loud, or too trained to override it to hear a word it says. Slowing down creates the conditions for you to finally start listening. Here's the thing I've learned from working with women one-on-one. Knowing these shifts intellectually is one thing. Actually implementing them, actually practicing them, processing what comes up when you try, having someone reflect back what they're seeing in you, that's where the real change happens. If you've been doing this work alone and wondering why it isn't sticking, I'd love to talk to you about one-on-one coaching. The link is in the show notes. I want to take this a level deeper because I think there's a spirituality principle at the heart of all of this that we don't talk about enough. There is a physics to receiving, and most of us are accidentally blocking it. In spiritual and energetic frameworks, there are 2 modes of operating. There's the masculine energy, the doing, the pushing, the building, the taking action, and there's the feminine energy, the receiving, the allowing, the trusting, the being. Now, here's what I want to be really clear about. Both are beautiful. Both are necessary. We need the masculine energy to build things, to take inspired action, to show up. I'm not here to tell you to stop doing. What I am saying is that most of us, especially women who were raised in hustle culture, are deeply, chronically, almost exclusively in masculine energy. We have forgotten how to receive. We have forgotten how to allow. We have forgotten that the doing is only half of it. And that half we've been neglecting is actually the half where the miracles live. Think about it this way. You cannot fill a cup that is already full. You cannot hear a whisper in a room full of screaming. You cannot receive what you are too busy to notice arriving. When you are in constant motion, When your schedule is packed and your mind is racing and every quiet moment feels like wasted time, you are in a state of sending energy out. You are not in a state of receiving it. And manifestation, alignment, intuitive guidance, all of it requires your ability to receive. Here's where it gets really interesting, and this is the piece I want you to take with you into your week. Your nervous system is the bridge between your spiritual practice and your lived experience. What this means in practical terms is this. If your body is in a chronic state of stress, if you are in that low grade, always on fight or flight that most of us have just accepted as normal, your nervous system literally cannot receive the frequencies of abundance, alignment, and ease. It's not a mindset problem. It's a physiological one. When your stress response is activated, your brain is scanning for threats. It is not scanning for opportunity. It is not open to inspired ideas. It is not available to pick up the intuitive nudge that says, go that way, not this way. This is why all the affirmations in the world don't work if your body doesn't feel safe. This is why you can't journal about abundance every morning and still feel contracted and scarce by noon. Because the journal is talking to your conscious mind, but your nervous system is still braced for impact. And slowing down, rest, pause, stillness, and ease is one of the most direct ways to signal to your nervous system that it is safe, that it can let down, that it can open. And when your nervous system opens, girl, that is when the magic starts. That is when the synchronicities show up. That is when the right person reaches out and the right opportunity appears and your intuition is suddenly crystal clear instead of muddy and confused. You are not manifesting in spite of slowing down. You're manifesting because of it. I want to take the last few minutes here to just give you something. Not a strategy or a framework or a 5-step plan, just a permission slip. Because here's what I know about you. You are someone who cares deeply. You care about doing good work. You care about showing up for the people in your life. You care about growing and evolving and becoming the version of yourself that you know is possible. And that caring, it's a gift. It genuinely is. But it has also probably convinced you that you can't slow down. That if you slow down, things will fall apart. That rest is irresponsible. That ease is naive. That peace is something you'll have later, after. I'm here as someone who lived that way for years and finally started doing something different to tell you that the after never comes. Not through more doing, not through more pushing, not through one more thing on the list. The peace you are looking for is not at the finish line. It is available to you right now, in this breath, in this moment. In the decision, however small, however imperfect, to choose ease over urgency today. You are allowed to move at your own pace. You are allowed to rest before you're exhausted. You are allowed to say no to things that don't align, even if you can't fully explain why yet. You are allowed to have a quiet evening that doesn't produce anything. You are allowed to trust that the version of you who is rested, grounded, and present is so much more magnetic, so much more creative, so much more capable of receiving the life she wants than the version of you who is running on empty and calling it dedication. Slow down is not a step backward. It is the fastest path to everything you actually want. That is your permission slip. Consider it signed. And if you want support as you actually practice this, As you work through the guilt and the resistance and the old stories that say slowing down means falling behind, that is exactly the kind of work we do inside the Soul Shine Collective. It is a community of women who are actively choosing alignment over hustle, depth over performance, and truth over trend. We would love to have you. Check out the link in the show notes and come find your people. Okay, every episode of the Return series is going to close with one simple, doable action step. Not a homework assignment, not a productivity task, just one thing you can do in the next 7 days to practice what we talked about today. This week's action step is this. Choose one thing to let be easier. That's it. Just one thing. Look at your week and ask, where am I making something harder than it needs to be? Where am I forcing something that wants to flow? Where am I adding steps or pressure or urgency to something that actually just needs a little space? And then practice letting it be easier. Not perfect, not done, just easier. Notice what comes up when you do. Notice the guilt, the resistance, the old story trying to resurface. And then gently, lovingly, set it aside and choose ease anyway. That is your spiritual practice this week. That is your return. Okay, beautiful soul, that is episode 1 of the Return series. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for choosing to spend this time with yourself, because that is really what you did today. You chose to slow down enough to listen to something that matters to you, and I don't take that lightly. Episode 2 of this series is coming out next week, and I am so excited about it. We are going to talk about your body as a spiritual compass, somatic wisdom, inner knowing, and why your gut has been trying to talk to you this whole time. It is a good one. It's a good one. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. If this episode resonated with you, will you do me the biggest favor and share it? Leave a review, send it to a friend, share it on your Instagram stories, and tag me. I'm at christine.marcario.coach, because the woman in your life who needs this permission slip deserves to hear it. And if you're not on my email list, come join us. Every week I'm dropping extra tools, reflections, and soulful goodies over there that I don't share anywhere else. The link is always in the show notes. I love you. I'm so proud of you for showing up for you, and I will see you on Frequency Friday. Until then, stay aligned, stay abundant, and remember, slowing down is not giving up. It is actually how you quantum leap. I'm Christine Marcario. This is Aligned and Abundant. Bye for now.